listening to Unpause Your Life with Dr. Cali Estes and Master Coach Jenny Fontana, founders of the Life Coach Method. Each one of our uplifting and deep dive episodes is geared to help you tackle the things that hold you back from having the most magnificent life you deserve. Sit back, relax, and prepare to be coached.
Welcome to Unpause Your Life. This is Dr. Cali Estes, the Addictions Coach, the Addictions Academy, Sober on Demand, and I am so excited for this guest today. I've been waiting for this interview. Dr. Axa Yox is a female voice in personal development and transformation. She's the author of the motivational book, Stop Calling It Comfort Zone, Be Uncomfortable to Be Comfortable, which, we talk a lot about in addiction. And she describes her innovative technique designed for everybody who is stuck in their comfort zone. So we're going to get into that technique today. That technique helps overcome anxiety and stop procrastination in pursuit of building extra sources of income. The approach she developed and described in her book is practical and effective, making her a valuable resource for those seeking personal development and transformation. Welcome, Doctor. How are you?
Thank you. We expect the hurricane, so I'm perfect.
So I am so excited for this interview because I want to hear about this technique. I am so into so many things, and I know you're approaching this from a scientific perspective. As as a psychologist, we do more social perspective. So tell me about this technique, how you figured this out, and what it's good for.
It's very interesting because I didn't figure out my body was demanding me to follow particular procedure, kind of the sequence. And because I was going through very hard times back then, I lost my dad. Another life-changing circumstance happened in our family, then my personal trauma. Then I moved to live to the US all by myself. I didn't know anyone, and everything was happening one after another within just only 6 months apart. And I didn't have the time to recover. So my body was demanding me to follow particular process. And when I started to dig into the research, because as a scientist with over 15 years experience, I do perfectly the research. And then I start to see that it might be explained with the science, it might be explained with the biochemistry and the shift that happens in our body based on what we do. And once I start to track back and see the changes that happen in my body and how I was reacting to changes happening in my life, I was like, wow, that's something definitely I didn't expect. And I believe everybody knows that many discoveries happen accidentally. So I decided, yeah, why not? Let's share with people and help them as well. Because if you start your day or you decide to make the change without preparing yourself from the biochemistry perspectives, you will slide back to your comfort zone, which exactly happens with so many people. They go to the seminar, they spend 1 week, they decide, oh, this time is going to be completely different. I'm determined. I learned all the techniques. They start very high, and within really very short period of time, 2 weeks or 1 month, they slide right back to their comfort zone. Because if you don't change the base, you will sink. You will just sink, and you don't have the fundament. It's similar like if you decide to bake the best cake. Let's say you like the cheesecake. You go to the supermarket, you buy all the ingredients, you get the best recipe ever existing in the world, and you decide to make the dough in the bowl from the fish. Whatever recipe you have, you are not going to get the cheesecake. You are going to get the cheesecake which will stink with fish. So before you clean the bowl where you make the dough, as a metaphor, compared to when you are trying to make the change in your life, and you are going to level up from where you are to where you want to be without really filling in the gaps, you will slide right back to your comfort zone. Because comfort zone is really very tricky thing to call something to be a comfort zone where you are unhappy, where you are unhealthy, and where you are unfulfilled. What is the signal that we send to our brain? I'm comfortable to be unhappy. I'm comfortable to be unhappy and unfulfilled. If that's the signal that you send to your brain will sabotage every single attempt to quit your comfort zone, because you already tell your brain like, I'm comfortable to be unhappy. Then your brain would be, why would I even bother to be uncomfortable if I am already unhappy? So we create these conflicting beliefs, and the command, and our body biochemistry sabotages because it doesn't realize what's happening, especially when the command comes from your limbic brain, which is subconscious, compared to the cortex, which is the conscious. So if you don't break the links that exist between your subconscious and conscious, what do you associate the different things with? You will slide right back in your comfort zone, and you will continue living unhappy, unhealthy, and unfulfilled. And there is another tricky thing I realized lately when I speak to people a lot. They think that the comfort zone is something fixed. It's like where you live. And I was like, no, it's a made up term. You realize that, right? And people are surprised. They are like, oh, we never thought it that way. So the comfort zone is nothing but a made up word, the term for people to justify why they don't go for the risk. So the same as you live in your room and you wake up in the morning, and if you don't like something in your room, you can remove it. You can clean up your room, and you can make less messy or even perfectly organized. The same way you can organize, by the way, your comfort zone. So if you don't want to have that in your daily life, remove it from your comfort zone. Don't keep uh, telling yourself that you are comfortable when you don't make the progress. Don't keep telling your brain, giving this command, I'm happy if I don't go to gym, if I eat the sweets, if I'm unhealthy. That's my comfort zone. Then everything will flip, because then your brain will break the links between what you associate the comfort with, and your cautious, which is cortex, will take the control over your limbic brain. And then by changing the biochemistry in your body, this is how you will change. Because it's not about to be comfortable to be uncomfortable. So many people will slide right back in their comfort zone because they are not ready for the shifted biochemistry which is associated with the risk. And once you go step by step, which is perfectly explained in my book, the technique how to develop this tolerance to risk taking and for the adversity, and to go when you are ready, because you are so uncomfortable to stay in your comfort zone. It's not about being comfortable to be uncomfortable, but once you flip and you make so uncomfortable to stay in your comfort zone, this is when you will transform your life and you will quit.
So that's interesting. You said something at the beginning where you said you convince yourself you're happy, and then you stay in this space because you've convinced your brain that I'm happy. And I find that so interesting because in what I do in addiction medicine, people aren't happy and they say, I'm not happy, but I'm going to reach for this drug to pretend I'm happy. So it's not the sweet, it's, the cocaine or the alcohol or what have you. So it's so interesting to hear that. How would you explain to somebody, when you wake up and let's say you're married and you're not happy in your marriage, and you're not happy at work, how do you make those transitions and get where you want to go when it feels like you can't get out of the situation you're in?
It's not very easy. It will take work, but it's possible to be completed. But the person has to break the links, what they associate with the certainty and the uncertainty, which is unsafe place. Because when you are in your comfort zone, actually I was telling that when you are in your comfort zone and you are still unhappy, you give your brain the command, I am comfortable to be unhappy. So you lower your standard that being unhappy is comfortable for you. You create this conflicting belief in your brain, and you keep living the same type of the life. I am comfortable, even I am unhappy, I'm unhealthy. So if we divide what's happening with us during the day, so particular things are certain, particular things are uncertain. If everything is uncertain in your life, this is when the body starts to freak out, because you don't have the base where to lean and where to stand. So if you flip, that's exactly what I was going through during the last 5 years. I didn't have any certainty. I lost my dad. I was going through personal trauma. I lived to the country where I knew no one, all by myself. And because of that flipped biochemistry, I needed something certain. So I changed the source of certainty and uncertainty, which was the risk taking and unsafe place where I needed to go. Once you change what you associate with certainty and what you fill your cup with as the different emotions, then you will start to change. I will explain in a bit more details. So per emotion per day, we have particular reaction. Every single reaction is the shift in our biochemistry. So there are things that we are certain, it gives us comfort, because biologically we are wired to feel safe. That's our nature. And then there are different events or meetings, whatever, that happens in our life that gives us uncertainty because we don't know what's happening. Still, our body synthesizes as a reaction particular, let's call them hormones. So you shift your biochemistry, and if you are kind of addicted to feel certain, now the new biochemistry is uncertain for you. So that's where you have to go back and make something which gives you the certainty. This is why people go for food, people go for gambling, people go for the sweets, or they go for alcohol, tobacco, or drugs, because that's what gives you that certainty. But if you change the source of the certainty and you make it less harmful for yourself, let's call it harmless, you still receive that certainty from different source, and whatever hits you daily, which gives you this nudge and the shift in biochemistry of uncertainty, it's not that hard for your body any longer. Because right after, if you sequence like uncertainty and certainty, but with particular thing, then you send your body the command or the signal that no, everything is certain, I'm still in my comfort zone. And what's happening, you step by step expand your comfort zone, but you don't expand to the level where you want to be, but you expand step by step, and you adjust your body to the biochemistry, which is one next further from your comfort zone. And because if you jump from your comfort zone to where you want to be, if you do this big leap, like really the gap to fulfill the gap, you will slide right back. But if you create the bridge between where you are now and where you want to be, and you don't rush yourself through the bridge, but you stay step by step at different conditions, and you make sure that you adjust yourself and you raise the tolerance to that particular biochemistry, this is when you move to the next step. And even if you decide to go step back, you don't slide right back to your comfort zone. So it's a gradual change and adaptation of your biochemistry for the new biochemistry, and you give your body the time to raise the tolerance to that biochemistry. This is when you can create the lasting change, the transformation.
So when you do that, does it drop your cortisol levels?
Yes. That's
And
something that we actually, it comes as the knowledge from the literature. We didn't
mhm.
perform the direct investigations. At the moment, I'm searching for the laboratory. I already applied to several scientists who are involved in studying the correlation between testosterone and cortisol, because whenever you have testosterone synthesized, then your cortisol drops, because they have the same biological, let's call it biochemical, because it's biochemical, not let's call it biochemical basic molecule, and then the active groups differ. But to make it very easy to understand, because the biochemical molecule is the same, then the body either synthesizes testosterone, because of that your cortisol drops, or the other way around. So it can synthesize cortisol, then your testosterone drops. And the same is for the female hormone. So once you see the correlation between those hormones, and cortisol is obviously is the stress hormone, and testosterone is the bravery, is risk taking, is the mood hormone, which changes everything, how you see, how you prospect in the world. Once you see the difference, you can realize that, okay, now it's not about that I'm whether comfortable, uncomfortable. You raise your tolerance to the risk. You know that you can fail. You know that it's scary. You are fearful, but you do it anyway. That's the great saying that exists in the social media. Every single time when I hear, in the very beginning, I was like, that makes no sense. Like, how is it possible to be fearful but to do it anyway? Now I know what does it mean. When you, it's not about to be fearful. It's about to raise your tolerance to the fearful biochemistry. That's the difference. Once you adjust, once you adapt yourself and you raise the tolerance, this is when you don't slide back to your comfort zone.
Wow. Okay. So that's fascinating. So in the world of addiction, people get more and more comfortable using drugs and risk taking because they got away with it. So then it creates a new comfortability level for them, wouldn't you say? And then the next level is even more, even though it's uncomfortable, becomes comfortable once they go through that as well. That's fascinating because we look at it in my industry more mindset. It's just your mindset, but there's a whole biochemistry to it that we don't even consider in the addiction and mental health space. We don't talk about biochemistry. We talk about action and we talk about thought process, but we don't actually talk about the uncomfortability factor. So this is fascinating. I think a lot of our listeners are going to love to get your book because it's going to give them a whole new way of looking at their behavior and their mindset, as opposed to just using talk therapy or coaching. It's actually using biochemistry, their own biochemistry, to explain their behavior and how to unravel their behavior.
Yes, because whether you go for as addiction, whether it's gambling, whether it's cigarettes, it's food, the sweets are one of the strongest to create the addiction, or even if you go for the harder, the heavier as drugs, it doesn't matter. As the base every time is the same, you need the certainty that you will shift the biochemistry to that particular content. So once you understand that it doesn't matter whatever you feel during the day, that will give you the same biochemistry, instead of going for the harmful items, whatever you call it, whether it's the sugar or it's the heavy drug, it doesn't matter. You receive the same shift in your biochemistry. So once you change how you come to that shift in your biochemistry, this is the first step. Then you have to make sure that you unlink what do you associate with the comfort. If feeling comfortable and certain is the same thing for you, you will slide back to your comfort. If being unhealthy, addicted, unhappy, and unfulfilled, it's associated with comfort because it's certainty, you will slide right back to your comfort zone. Those are the links that you have to change in your mind. What do I associate with the comfort? If being unhappy, unhealthy is comfortable for you, you will never break that link. You have to break the link what is to be comfortable and uncomfortable for you. It is perfectly described in my book. In the very beginning, you might think it's the weirdest thing to do. I was going through really hard times, but it helped me huge times. And every time when I teach the technique to people, it sounds weird for them, but within 2 weeks, they come back and they are like, we would never, ever expect such shift in our body. Because that's something that we keep neglecting and ignoring, how strong is the biochemistry. Because we are, first of all, unconscious being, because the nature created subconscious to protect our life first, before giving you the option to decide whether you want to be happy, whether you want to be unhappy, sad, joyful, whatever the emotion, in love, to decide to be not in love. This is already cortex. This is where your cautious brain has to make the decision, because cautious brain is for the decision making, while emotionally you are operating on the limbic level. Once you start to assess what the feeling is, this is when your cautious kicks in. Before, if you stay on the emotional level, this is limbic brain. This is your subconscious. Only when you start, okay, when you feel, let's put it that way. When you feel sad, this is the limbic brain. This is your subconscious. You feel sad. But once you start to analyze, why do I feel sad? This is when your cortex kicks in. This is when your cautious kicks in, because you need to assess. There is a decision-making step. There is a assessment why you feel sad. That's why if you go through the hard times, and to protect yourself, the nature created this coping mechanism as numbing. and you start to numb particular feelings. The nature didn't create us to numb one feeling. So whatever goes under that spectrum of the feelings, as we assess them negative, you start to group all of them. Oh, those are negative, and you just put there sorrow, sad, disappointed, down, like failed, every possible emotion, or angry, pissed off, everything. You just group everything, you label as negative, and you start to numb those feelings. And every time when there is a similar trigger from the biochemistry, you just simply go to that group and you mark it as negative. And this is your limbic brain. And to realize what makes you to feel that negativity, whether it's sadness, whether it's sorrow, whether you are pissed off, whether you are angry, what is that? This is only when you go with your cautious mind. But if you go through the hardship all over again and again, you don't have the time to break down something that you already numbed, you grouped it, and you labeled as negative. You have to do the work. You have to separate when exactly you feel sad, why you feel angry, why you feel pissed off, what makes you to decide that you failed and you are disappointed. What is the difference? It's easier for us to group everything and to say, oh, that's negative. No, that's not how the nature created us. The nature created all the possible colors. So you have to differentiate, because that's when your cautious kicks in. And once you start to differentiate, this is when your decision making changes, because you completely differently react to when you are sad, when you are pissed off, when you are disappointed. Those are completely different emotions, but we mark them, label them as negative, and we give the same reaction. So we slide right back to our comfort zone, whether we go for the sweet because it just numbs our feeling, because at this moment, at that particular moment, we need to numb it. We are so used to numb the feelings that whatever comes from that group which we labeled as negative, we rush ourselves to numb it, because it's easier for us to deal when it's numbed than to give our cautious mind the option to analyze. Wait, okay, it's negative, but what is that? What if I can give the solution for that, instead of staying in that harmful situation over and over and over again? And I will repeat myself: before you break your links in your cautious and subconscious, and how you associate the things, and what is the meaning that you give to the things, and before you clear the bowl from the stink fish, it doesn't matter what ingredients you get, it doesn't matter what technique, tactic, strategy you learn, you will always end up baking the cake which will stink with the fish. So you have to nullify your biochemistry. And once you nullify and you break all the links which are harmful for yourself in your brain, and you start nearly from the scratch, and you step by step you create the new links, this is when the lasting transformation, not the transformation, because the transformation can last only 1 week. It's still transformation. You decided you will live sugar free for 1 week. You cannot say that you didn't transform your life. You transformed your life for 1 week, but then you were back to your comfort zone. So the transformation was not lasting. if you want to create the lasting transformation, you need to nullify your biochemistry.
So what is the quickest way to do that? Because that's what our listeners would ask. How do I do that the quickest way?
So the quickest way, as it is described in my book, they can go and check it, is you have to make everything, because the problem when you go for the addiction is you are searching for the certainty. Everybody knows addiction is the certainty. You are addicted to certainty. The biochemistry of changes is freaking you out. So you have to create such certainty in your life that it becomes uncomfortable for you. The certainty becomes uncomfortable, but not harming certainty, harmless certainty, because the body doesn't care where it gets the emotions from. The body, your subconscious, this is where the emotions live. The body doesn't care, doesn't realize unless your cautious kicks in, your body gets the biochemistry and it's fine. So once you flip where the certainty comes from, which is harmless for you compared to harmful source for the certainty, you start to nullify your biochemistry step by step, step by step. And once you come to the point when that certainty is so uncomfortable for you, then you start to develop the useful and productive skills step by step. And then you sequence with the certainty again and again, because you have to fool your body that everything in your life is the same. Otherwise, you will slide back to your comfort zone. Whatever was created for over decades, especially the chemical addiction, we need to understand that the chemical addiction is the easiest way to slide back, because it gives the reaction right away. Whether it's like to eat a piece of cake or the sweet. I was kind of addicted to the sweets. Every single time something would happen to me, I would just go to snack on something sweet like the cake, or I was craving for the cakes. It's another type of addiction. It's not only the harmful heavy addictions as to the drugs considered to be addictions. Whatever you give as the relief to your body, it's still addiction. So that's the mindset you have to break. You have to unlink what exists in your subconscious. And once you unlink everything and you start from the scratch, and the heavier is the situation, obviously more work needs to be done. But you need to start to do the work. No one can do the work for you. That's that, whether it's unfortunate or it's fortunate, just give a try. Do it for 1 week. It's either or. You always have the option to slide, even it sounds very bad, but still you have the option to slide to your comfort zone, right? So try for 1 week. You don't lose anything. Try for 1 week, check how it works, and once you see the shift in your biochemistry and how your body reacts, then when you will step in and you will step out of your comfort zone and be still fine, because being in your comfort zone is uncomfortable. It's not being out of your comfort zone is uncomfortable. No. You have to forget that. Being out of your comfort zone and being uncomfortable, you will slide right back to your comfort zone. You have to make your comfort zone to be so uncomfortable to stay, that for you, where is the comfort and where is uncomfort, this is what flips. That's why you don't want to stay in your comfort zone.
So for our listeners, that would mean getting into a spot where you're uncomfortable but safe, maybe your feelings, and thinking about where you are, and then staying in that until it becomes comfortable, which becomes normal. Correct?
More or less, yes. The need to feel safe still we have, because we are biologically, we are wired to feel safe. You cannot go to the roof and say, oh, I will walk on the edge and let's see what's happening. No, that's not very wise thing to do. So you have to prepare yourself to go to the top of the building and be at the edge and be able to walk. That's the meaning behind the technique. It's not about to uh, not, there is no need to feel safe. No, it's impossible. But what is the safe for you? So you unlink what you understand by the safe. You unlink those links that you already created. What is the safe for you? Not going to the top of the roof of the building. If that's the safe for you, you will never go there. But if for you staying where you are is the unsafe place, that's when you will go to the roof and you will practice walking at the edge without falling, without harming yourself, without hurting yourself, without serious injuries, but still step by step you will raise that risk-taking ability in you, because you need to change your biochemistry.
Gotcha. Wow, this is fascinating. So, where can our listeners find your book? Where can they connect with you, ask questions, engage, things like that?
So they can find my book. It's on Amazon. It's called Stop Calling It Comfort Zone. Be uncomfortable to be comfortable to succeed. And they can find me on LinkedIn and Facebook. I'm very active on both platforms. They can read my content, and they can get in contact via sending with the message, and then we continue from there on.
Okay, great. And we will put up all of that on our social media pages, on the Spotify, etc., so that the listeners can find you, ask any questions, and kind of get to know you and get your book. And I want to thank you for coming on. This has been very enlightening.
Absolutely. Thank you for hosting me. And yeah, I hope as many people change their life and create the lasting transformation, as happier society we create around ourselves. So if there is an option and there is a chance to help anyone, and if I would know that I did, I would be absolutely thrilled to hear any story that people can share that happened in their life after they read my book. That would be fascinating.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. We'll make sure we send them to you. And thank you for listening, everybody. As always, this has been Unpause Your Life with Dr. Cali Estes.
Thank you for listening to Unpause Your Life with Dr. Cali Estes and Master Coach Jenny Fontana. Head over to www.thelifecoachmethod.com to learn more about coaching yourself and how to become a master coach.